New dice, new video, new year. Hi, I'm Sean, and I want to get you into tabletop role playing today. At the end of this video, talk about the channel, talk about what's coming up, but we're going to get into the topic of the day today, which is getting you into D&D. For those of you who found this video who are trying to get into the hobby, I'm here for you today. I want to help you out. Maybe you are in the hobby, maybe you've played a little bit, and you want to tackle game mastering, you want to tackle dungeon mastering. Maybe you need to try to get your friends into this. I'm here for you today because there's a lot of stuff to sift through. And I think there's a very big factor that I want to address today when we talk about getting into Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I think first and foremost, I just want to say there are ways to get into this hobby. Here is the 2024 starter set, Heroes of the Borderlands. Okay, you've got this option filled with ways to get you into the game today with your friends. They also have, if you're looking at the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, you've got the Stranger Things, for those of you who just finished season 5, no spoilers here, I really liked it though. The Welcome to the Hellfire Club D&D box set, a starter set to get you into the game. These are great learning tools. They both come packed with a lot of stuff. Not only do they come with little trinkets, standees, figures for a live game. They come with dice and all this stuff. They come with some booklets that are really important. So in the regular D&D starter set, you've got your play guide, which is of course very important. It comes up with rules and things you need to do as a player. And then it's got Keep on the Borderlands, a book that kind of shows you the keep and it kind of shows you how a city works in Dungeons and Dragons and gives you some good footing there. Caves of Chaos, a bunch of adventures inside of these caves, very different adventures, but different concepts on how to run stuff. And then it's got the Wilderness, which is some cool travel things that you can take from, and just very good learning tools as you are new to D&D. These are really interesting. I think they're very good books. In the Stranger Things set, you've got your play guide, just like in the other one. And then you've got 4 different adventures. Scream of the Crop. You've got Ballad of the Rat King. You've got Devil Metal Die, The Vanishing Gnome. Now, I don't want this to be this is not a review of the starter sets because there's plenty of those out there from last fall. And I'd recommend you go check those out. If you're looking at one of these starter sets, go watch one of the reviews from someone else who's done one last fall. And they're very easy to find on YouTube. And there's some really good ones out there, okay? I don't want to review these today. I will tell you personally, I love them. I think they would be an extremely valuable asset. But the focus of today is to get past a hurdle that these things can provide. And maybe it will get you through a hurdle that can then open up the option to get one of these, to justify getting one of these, because these are like $50, $60. They're not cheap, okay? And my belief, and from what I've experienced with these, let's say you spend the $50, $60 to get one of these starter sets. And then this is where we do, the logistics of it. If your group that you want to play this with, maybe you're new to it, you're going to sell this game to your friends who are new to it. If it clicks, you are going to get so many hours out of these starter sets, so many sessions, that the price tag on them is going to pay itself off. It just is. Compared to anything else you and your buddies are going to do, you are going to get the value out of this. If you play board games at all, right? I'm just comparing it to that because that's another activity you can do at a table with your friends. Board games aren't cheap. Board games can be $50, $60 for a really cool board game these days. And you will play this. You will play these more. You'll get more hours out of these than you get out of those board games. I'm going to put these on the floor. They're heavy. They're heavy. And they make my table rattle. So that's great. And I think they're great products. But here's what I want to do today. I want to get you into D&D without spending a lot of money. Okay? How do you do that? I don't have $50, $60 to spend. I don't want to do that. Eventually, if we're into this hobby, I will. But where can I start for cheap? I'm here for you for that. Now, there are some things that you're going to need that you just can't get by without. You're going to need dice, right? You got, as you play D&D more and more, these little trinkets right here, these wonderful dice, you'll probably accrue way too many of them, but you do have to have the dice, the 7 die, your D20, D12, D10, your percentile dice, your D8, your D6, your D4. You're going to need them. Now, You can get away with not even having these, right? You don't want to go spend $5 on a set of dice that you could share around the table. On your phone, there are plenty of dice rollers. Okay, there's plenty of dice rollers on available on your phone that are free. You can do it on a laptop. There are even ways you could go into your other board games and you could steal the D6s out of your other board games, out of your Monopolies and your Risks, and go online, and there's ways to roll 3D6 that can equal a 20-sided die. I'm not going to explain it to you right now, other than the fact that the first one signifies if it's going to be in the 0 to 9 or the 10 to 20. The second die is going to determine whether it's 0 to 5 or 6 to 10, and then your last die helps out with that as well. So there are ways to just do it with D6s. You don't even need to go out and get these dice or use a die roller. You're going to need paper. You're going to need pencil. That's going to be helpful for players and GMs. It really helps if you have player sheets. You can get player sheets for free off of D&D Beyond and print them out. You might have to go print them at a FedEx, a Kinko's, wherever you can go print your papers, maybe the library, or maybe you have a printer, someone who has a printer, go to work, accidentally send one to the print. Whoops, I meant to print something else. I had an Excel spreadsheet that needed to go, and I accidentally fired off these character sheets. I guess I'll have to take them home with me. But you're going to need some character sheets for your players. But here's where we're going to get into the meat of stuff. If you want to get into D&D for free today, you can do it. And I'm going to give you a couple things you need to know about. You need to know about the SRD. Dungeons and Dragons releases their SRD, their system reference document. And their latest one is 5.2.1. And it's available on D&D Beyond, and I will put the link to it down in the description, okay? And you can get this. It's 364 pages of rules, of ways to play, of building characters, and then a ton of monsters as well. It's a lot of stuff that you get for free. You may see the player's handbook and the monster manual and the dungeon master's guide. And again, we're looking at books that are $40 to $60. It's not cheap. This SRD is free, and it covers everything you need to get into the hobby right now, today. You can go look at it today if you're interested in D&D and read through it and start to fall in love with the concepts and how this game works. But you could play an entire game at the table with the SRD, with the system reference document. I'd highly recommend it. And then here's what I'm going to recommend you do. I'm going to recommend you go to the DM's Guild and download a Most Potent Brew. Now, there are a ton of resources out there for adventures, for early level 1, level 3, beginners, GM, and players adventures. But the one I'm going to recommend to you is a Most Potent Brew. And the reason I'm recommending it to you is because it was the one that was recommended to me and the one that I used at the end of last summer to start a game with people I had never met before that I met on a Discord server. And we ran a game of a Most Potent Brew. And when it was done, I was dripping sweat as my first time GMing for people. And I thought that couldn't have been great. And everyone messaged me and said that was really fun. We didn't quite finish the module, and they were like, can we please finish it? And now we've been playing for months on a campaign that started out with a Most Potent Brew. And the thing with this is you can go to DM's Guild and you can download it for free. Now, I would recommend if you download it for free and you end up liking it, this is one of those products on the DM's Guild where you can then choose to donate to the creator. You can re-download it and give $1, give $2, give $5. Give what you think it's worth and what you have if you enjoy this product. But you can get it for free. Again, I'd recommend throwing $1 to the creator because they put a lot of work into it, and it really is a great product. But what a Most Potent Brew is going to give you is it's going to give you like I think it's 5 pages, 6 pages of a level 1 adventure. Okay? And this is great for a couple reasons at level 1, in my estimation. If you have new players, their characters are very basic. Now, for more experienced players, and as you play longer, level 1 can be very boring. You can't do a whole lot of stuff. But when you're just starting out, from the GM's perspective, the person running the game, and the players, there's not a lot that the players can do. They can do very basic stuff. And that's great because you're not sifting through your system reference document to try to figure out what crazy spell your wizard just cast, or how many times can my barbarian attack, and you know, what kind of stuff are they doing with their character as they level up, because as you level up, you can do a whole lot more stuff. And there's a lot more stuff to pay attention to as the DM and as the player. So with a level 1 adventure, everyone can focus on the basic things your character can do, and that's very important, as the GM is already going to be focused on running this story, and focusing on what the characters can do can get a little overwhelming and a little intimidating as a beginner DM. So a Most Potent Brew is going to give you just a couple things that you can do to get your world started in this D&D or TTRPG community, okay? Very basic. And I think this adventure does a great job explaining to the GM how to make this adventure interesting but also fun. There's a lighthearted feel to a Most Potent Brew. And you are at a brewery, you're going to go to a brewery, and it's very basic beginner stuff. You're going to help the person who owns the brewery clear out some rats from the basement. I mean, we are talking basic D&D. A tavern, and there's rats in the cellar. And that may sound cheesy, but when you are just starting your DMing career, you kind of need it to be basic, because again, it's very intimidating. And this adventure makes it fun for the players, because it ends up being more than just rats in the cellar, and the cellar opens up and there's more stuff in the cellar, some other critters in the cellar, a big boss character in the cellar. There's also a puzzle in there, so you're going to get an encounter with some rats. You're going to get a puzzle. There are some things to explore. There are some, it brings up some checks that you'll see throughout the course of your TTRPG career as players navigate through either dungeons or just any obstacles that you would have in an encounter. They're all in this little 5-room dungeon that exists in a Most Potent Brew. It's a really cool adventure, and I'd highly recommend it. And again, you can do all this today. The other thing is, in this adventure, they have enemies that are all referenced in the system reference document. So giant rats, some giant centipedes, these are all creatures that you can find for free in that system reference document. Now, the only one that isn't, there's a giant inferno spider. I do not believe that is in the system reference document, and it's 2014 rules, but I ran it as it is written in the Most Potent Brew module, and I used everything that was exactly in the stat sheet, and it worked really well. And my characters had actually made quick work of it. They I had 2 players in a roll crits, and they critically hit this creature, and they did crazy amounts of damage to it. So that was kind of a fun way to do it. But I just ran it as it's listed, because they have its own special stat sheet in a Most Potent Brew for this giant inferno spider. Highly recommend it. You can play through this. You've got a free module. You can get your rules for free from the system reference document. You can use free dice rollers. You can be playing for free today. I would also recommend, you know, if there's some handouts in this game, a map you can print out if you want, but you can also draw them on a piece of paper. And I know a lot of people I've got mine back here somewhere. One of them. Oh, I've got a couple of these. I got them both for a birthday at the same time. I got some Chessex battle maps that I really like, so you can draw out the dungeons on those. But again, if you're just trying to keep this as cheap as possible, just draw it out on a piece of paper. Very easy to do, and there you go. I'd recommend it. I want to get you into this hobby. I was in this. There's my sales pitch, and there's how we can fight. The price tag on these awesome Wizards of the Coast products, the starter sets. By the way, on this channel, if you haven't been following it and you're new to it, I'm sorry, I'm not in that group that you'll see out there that is indie products only, anti-D&D, anti-Dungeons and Dragons podcasts, or anti-Dungeons and Dragons channels that just will rip on all their products and rip on everything they do. That's not what you're going to get here. If that's what you're looking for, you don't find it. I just love them all. I love all the products. If it's a TTRPG product, I'm pretty open and honest about it, but I don't really hold grudges against companies. I think some companies make great products, and then eventually they make one that I don't necessarily love, but that doesn't mean I'm out on it. So whether it's Kobold Press, MCDM, Wizards of the Coast, It's an independent person like Kelsey Dion making Shadow Dark. I just love getting into the hobby, and I think there's so many cool options, and you're not going to come to this channel to find me ripping on any one of those specific groups and trying to steer you elsewhere. I want to steer everyone who watches this channel to the table, and I want you to have a ton of fun rolling these dice with your friends, and I want you to make long-lasting memories and create awesome stories and just thrive in this super cool hobby that is tabletop role-playing. Again, most potent brew, excuse me, the system reference document, get yourself some dice, get yourself some paper, and go have a great time playing this game. Okay, in terms of the channel, it's been a very long time since I posted. I just wanted to kind of figure out the last portion of last year. I got very busy personally, and I had a lot of stuff going on. I kept wanting to post on this channel. I was really loving making videos, the ones that the couple that have been posted already. And I hit a point where I was like, I feel like I'm an imposter in this world. I do not play a lot of, I've not dungeon mastered a ton of games. I have played for a couple years. I was very overwhelmed. And so I just kept thinking about what I wanted to talk about. And I've got some stuff I do want to talk about. My thing is, I am not a professional video editor. I am not a professional YouTuber. And when I go watch some of my favorite creators, their videos are so well edited, and they've got animations, and they've got, their pointy hat. It's just, everything's cool and animated. I can't do a lot of that stuff. I also don't have time for a lot of that stuff. I got 3 kids. I got a job. I got a lot of things going on, but I want to put something up. I want to help grow the community. So this is how we're going to do it. It's very basic, and I'm just going to be okay with that moving forward. And if it's something you don't like, sorry. I would love it if you left a comment in the comment section. It's very nice to know people have watched the video. Hit the like button, all the basic YouTube things. I actually don't know if it helps the channel grow. The only thing that I know it helps with is it helps me as a creator know that someone was taking a look. Whether that helps the algorithm or not, I don't know. I just know for me, if there's some likes, if there's some comments, it means that this video had at least somebody check it out and maybe think it was cool. All right, go out there and play some games. Get the dice, roll some dice. I'm telling you, new people, I'm not joking. You could go get one set of these dice, put them at your table, share them with your friends, and eventually you're just going to have cases. This is one of the cases of dice that I have because you just weirdly collect them. You go play at a game shop sometime, and then you leave, and on the way out, you're like, I got $5. I played for 3 hours in your establishment. On the way out, that game was worth $5. I'm going to get myself a new set of Chessex dice. And you do that a couple times over the year, and you've got a couple different sets of dice, and then you're never worried about sharing any of these at the table ever again. Thanks for watching, New Dice. We'll talk to you later.